Gene Hackman, 95, his wife Betsy Arakawa, 65, and a dog were all found dead on February 26, 2025. The news of the deaths of Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy Arakawa has shocked Hollywood. Their private home in Santa Fe, New Mexico, was where their bodies were found. A place that had once been a safe haven for the couple was all of a sudden the scene of a terrifying crime. The fact that so many questions are still open makes this case even scarier. They say that there are no signs of trauma, which is good. No one had been there recently. There were no signs of forced entry, and no one had called the police. There were just two dead bodies and a dead dog, and many details that don't make sense. What really took place in that house? Was it an ordinary health problem? Something terrible that happened? Is there something much scarier going on below the surface? As the first autopsy report came out, more and more disturbing details came to light. However, they didn't make things clearer. Instead, they made things more mysterious. Let's talk about the strange things that the forensic investigation showed. The mysterious cause of Gene Hackman's death is still a mystery. Then security checked on the residence and saw Mr. Hackman and Miss Arakawa lying on the ground and not moving. What people think? Fans all over the world and Hollywood were shocked when they heard that Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa had died. Hackman, one of the most famous actors in American movie history, had died in a tragic and mysterious accident. He was known for giving powerful and psychologically complex performances. Although the death of a famous person always makes people sad, the strange circumstances of this case made people want to know more. There were a lot of theories on social media. Some people thought Hackman's death from old age was a natural tragedy, and Arakawa soon after died of grief. But some people couldn't believe that a couple living in a nice house in a busy neighborhood could die in silence for more than a week and no one would have noticed. There was also the body of a German Shepherd. Both people were checked for carbon monoxide. In the entertainment business, many co-workers sent their deepest condolences. Working with Hackman on Unforgiven, Morgan Freeman said, "He was a sincere, humble, and passionate man. In his last moments, I can't even imagine what he went through. Only praying that he and Betsy were able to be at peace in the end." Not everyone, though, believed in a peaceful death. The actor Randy Quaid, who is known for his controversial Hollywood conspiracy theories, sent out a mysterious tweet that made people suspicious. Not a natural death. The killers killed Gene Hackman and his wife. It's happened to me before. A strong man like Gene Hackman is never left alone in Hollywood. We're going to take a long time, do full-body x-rays, and look at the clothes. Quaid's tweet quickly went viral, which made major news outlets look into his claims to see if they were true. The Santa Fe police shot down the rumors, saying there were no signs of theft or breaking in. Still, there were holes in the case that made people wonder. To make things worse, a long investigation looked into the possibility of toxic gas exposure, but there were no signs of carbon monoxide poisoning. This made things even more mysterious because it ruled out one of the most likely explanations. The media kept going over every detail of the case, and Gene Hackman fans remembered him by watching old movies like The French Connection, The Conversation, Superman, and Unforgiven. But instead of just being sad about his death, everyone was left with a question. As more research was done on the forensic reports, the public eagerly awaited a final explanation. But would anyone ever find out the truth, or would this mystery only get stranger? A creepy crime scene. Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa used to have a peaceful home in Santa Fe that was surrounded by nature. However, on February 26, 2025, it was the site of a scary mystery. After neighbors said they hadn't seen them in a while, a maintenance worker found their bodies. Still, what was found inside the house made the mystery even stronger. The 95-year-old Hackman was discovered lying on the floor near the front door. He had his sunglasses and cane neatly set down next to him, as if he had been getting ready to leave, but then fell. There were no visible injuries or signs of a fight, and there was no record of an emergency call ever being made. The police quickly picked up on something odd. Hackman had not been alive since February 17th, when his pacemaker stopped working. This means he had been dead for at least 9 days before he was found. But where had Betsy Arakawa been for more than a week if Hackman had been dead? The body of Arakawa was found in the bathroom, close to a space heater that had fallen over. There were a lot of prescription pills on the sink, but there were no signs of damage or theft. It was very important to know if she died before or after Hackman. If they both died soon after each other, why did their bodies break down in different ways? Why hadn't she called for help or tried to leave the house if she had been alive for days? But the most disturbing clue came from somewhere you wouldn't expect: a small animal that lived in the house. 12-year-old Australian Kelpie mix Zinna was discovered dead in a closet door closed. At first, reports said that the couple's German shepherd, Bear, had also died, but later, police confirmed that Bear had lived. Who and why did Cinderella's lock change? If Zinna hid inside by herself, what scared her so much that she went to a small room to hide? Hackman, Arakawa, or someone else? While the other dogs were okay, Zinna was the only one who didn't make it. Initial reports said Zinna did not show any signs of being poisoned or hurt. The most likely reason they died was from not having enough water or food for days. That, however, brought up another troubling question. So why was Zinna the only one locked up? The most strange thing about the case was that there were no signs of forced entry or a fight. Why were there so many unsettling details if this was just a case of natural causes? Arakawa had been alive for a few days after Hackman died on February 17th, so why had she not done anything to get help? Police searched the whole house, looked at the gas system, and did toxicology tests, but they didn't find any signs of foul play. But instead of making things clearer, this made things even less clear. Was all of this just a sad series of events? Or was this strange puzzle still missing a piece? Several different hints. The strange events surrounding Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths became even stranger as the investigation went on, as if this were just a natural disaster. What was going on with all the details that couldn't be explained? Police quickly confirmed that there were no signs of foul play, no broken windows, and no injuries on either body that could be seen. Still, the events at the scene painted a picture that was full of contradictions. The first big mystery investigators had to solve was when the people had died. Hackman's pacemaker showed that his heart stopped beating on February 17th, at the very least 9 days before his body was found. This meant the person had died suddenly, probably from a heart attack or another similar health problem. But the state of Arakawa's body made things even more complicated. The rate at which her body broke down should have been about the same as Hackman's if she had died at the same time. But early forensic reports showed that her body parts were better preserved, suggesting that she may have lived for a while after Hackman died. What happened in the days that followed, if this were true? If Betsy Arakawa had been in the house for almost a week after Hackman died and not called anyone, what was she doing? There was no proof that the home's landline or cell phones were used during that time. What would make a healthy woman who lives in a house with everything she needs choose silence after her husband died suddenly? There should have been some sign that she tried to stay alive, even if she was so shocked that she couldn't think or react. However, when the police checked the house, they saw that the fridge was still full and there were no signs that any food had been eaten during that time. This brought up a very important question. Had Arakawa really been alive for 9 days? Or had she died soon after Hackman? Along with her body, police found an open prescription bottle in the bathroom where Arakawa's body was found, with several pills lying around the sink. Why was there no proof that she had taken the pills if she had been trying to do so to stabilize herself? There was no water nearby, and there were no signs of vomiting or seizures, which are common signs of a drug overdose or bad reaction. What was wrong with the pill bottle being open? Why did they leave it that way? Why didn't Arakawa grab a phone to call for help if she had passed out suddenly? These details left a huge hole in the timeline that wasn't easily explained by natural disasters or shocks to the mind. The strangest thing about the case might not have been the victims themselves, but Zinna, a small animal that lived in the house. Their Australian Kelpie mix is 12 years old. The maintenance worker went into the house and found Zinna dead in a closet that was closed. According to the first reports, Hackman's beloved German shepherd, Bear, had died. However, police later said that Bear was still alive and had been taken to an animal care center. Then why did Zinna die? Even more so, why was she locked in a closet? If Hackman or Arakawa put her there, it meant that they did it before they died. If that were true, though, why was there only one dog in a cage when the others were free to run around the house? It didn't look like Zinna had wandered into the closet and locked herself inside by accident. When a dog is scared, she might look for shelter, but there was no reason for her to get stuck in a small space from which she couldn't get out. Whoever shut the closet door must have been Hackman, Arakawa, or a third person they don't know. But why would someone have really locked Zinna inside before they died? A dog that doesn't get any food or water will die of thirst within days. This means that if Zinna was locked up, she probably died very soon after Hackman did. But then why? Police looked into all of the possible causes, such as carbon monoxide poisoning. But every test showed that there were no harmful gases in the house. There were no signs of a break-in, a fight, or someone from outside the family coming into the house in the days before Hackman and Arakawa's deaths. It seemed like this series of events happened by chance, but there were so many strange coincidences that it felt almost too good to be true. All of these different pieces of information made the case more complicated than just two elderly people dying naturally. Instead of giving answers, each piece of evidence made more questions. Why hadn't Betsy Arakawa done anything for days if Hackman had died of old age and heart disease? If she had died right after Hackman, why didn't her body break down at the same speed? Who put Zinna in the closet if no one else had been in the house? The last question is why there was no record of an emergency call. Even though Hackman was old and had a history of heart problems, the more the police looked into the case, the less they could figure out what happened. Betsy Arakawa and Gene Hackman's deaths could have been a sad accident, or they could have been part of a much bigger story. And as the police continued their investigation, there was still one question that they couldn't answer. Were these really just a bunch of bad luck? Or was there a bigger mystery that needed to be solved? Ideas about how Arakawa died. It's possible that Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths were caused by a terrible chain of natural events, or they could be hiding something much stranger. Investigators looked at every part of the scene and came up with a number of theories. Each theory raised new questions or led to new lines of suspicion. One of the most likely explanations is that Hackman died of a sudden heart attack and Arakawa later died of mental shock or health problems. Hackman had had heart disease in the past and had a pacemaker, according to his medical records. The device's data showed that his heart stopped beating on February 17th. Suddenly, without any signs before. This fits with a severe arrhythmia that can happen without any visible signs. However, if Hackman died right away and couldn't call for help, why didn't Arakawa do the same? The first idea is that she went through a severe emotional shock that made her unable to think or act normally. Nevertheless, even when they were shocked, people would usually drink water or eat to stay alive, especially if food and pets were easy to get in the house. If she had been alive for several days after Hackman died, why didn't her body show signs of being severely hungry or dehydrated? It's also possible that Arakawa tried to give Hackman medicine but missed the mark. From what happened in the bathroom, it looks like she might have tried to open a medicine bottle. It's still not clear if it was meant for Hackman or herself. If she was stressed out and overwhelmed, she might have taken too much or the wrong medicine. There were, however, no signs of vomiting or seizures, which are common signs of an overdose. One of the most controversial theories is that Arakawa was physically weak for several days but didn't know she needed help. Her mental state could have gotten worse if she was severely dehydrated or malnourished, making it impossible for her to make smart decisions. Not leaving the house or calling anyone might have been the reason, but it doesn't explain why the other two dogs were still alive when Zinna was found locked in a closet. Now comes a scarier question. Did Zinna lock herself in on purpose? If Arakawa had lived for a short time after Hackman died, she may have put the dog in the closet for some reason, like to keep herself safe or because she was scared. But why Zinna? Bear and Nikita were still free. When did she keep the dog in a crate if she did? An even crazier theory says that a third party is involved. No signs of breaking in were found by the police. There was no sign of a fight. It's still possible that someone else lived there and then left without leaving any signs. What did they want to do if that were true? Another question is why they would leave without asking for help. A less talked about but still plausible theory is that the person could have been poisoned or exposed to a poisonous substance that killed them without being noticed. Exposure to colorless gases or dangerous chemicals has been linked to some deaths that can't be explained. Initial reports ruled out carbon monoxide poisoning, but could have been caused by a different gas or poison. The full toxicology results have not been released yet, but if no signs of poison or foreign substances are found in Hackman and Arakawa's bodies, what killed them? Is this really just a string of bad luck, with one natural death setting off another? Or is there still something else that needs to be found? Even though investigators are getting closer to a theory, there's still no one theory that fully explains the case without leaving some questions. The deaths of Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa are one of the most puzzling mysteries in Hollywood history because of this. After weeks of investigation, the autopsy report still hasn't given a good enough reason for what happened. It was found that Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa did not have any poison in their bodies. Hackman's pacemaker shows that his heart stopped beating on February 17th, but the exact reason for this is still unknown. The report didn't find any signs of poisoning or drug overdose in Arakawa, but the exact time of her death has still not been found. This means that the biggest question still hasn't been answered, even after a full forensic investigation. What really happened in the days they were dying? If there were no signs of foul play, poisons, or other strange causes, how did they die so suddenly just days apart? Investigators are still waiting for the toxicology results, which are thought to be the last piece of the puzzle needed to figure out the real cause of death. If no signs of poisoning, drug overdose, or outside influences are found, Hackman and Arakawa's deaths will remain a tragedy that can't be explained. But if an odd substance is found in their blood, could that show a darker side of what happened in that house? There have been many strange deaths of famous stars in Hollywood, but Gene Hackman's case has too many oddities for any one theory to fully explain. What's the deal with all the unanswered questions? Will we ever know the truth if a secret is kept from us? People are still paying attention to every new development. When the final reports come out, will they put an end to the mystery or make it worse? Nobody knows what will happen, but Hackman's death has cast a long shadow over Hollywood, where not every story has a clear ending. People are hoping that the final autopsy results will put an end to all the guessing. Instead, they've made things even more mysterious. Does science not explain everything? Is there something that science fails to explain? Does this story still need one more piece? Why do you think Gene Hackman and Betsy Arakawa's deaths are still a mystery? Were the events just a bad string of coincidences? Is there still something to be found? What do you think about the strange things that were found at the scene? Tell us what you think in the space below. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you want to help us solve more of Hollywood's biggest mysteries.